Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, champions in the making, let me tell you something about history. History don't whisper. It don't mumble. History roars. But you know what it doesn't do? It doesn't talk about losers. Not because losers aren't human. Not because they didn't try. But because they stopped. They quit. They chose comfort over legacy. Now, I'm not talking about failure. Failure is the price of greatness. You can fail 1,000 times and still be a winner. But if you lie down in the middle of the fight, if you turn your back when the heat's on, history walks right past you. Because history's not written in ink. It's written in blood, in grit, in grind. See, this world doesn't owe you a thing. It doesn't care about your dreams unless you make them real. Unless you rise up every time life slaps you down. Unless you stare rejection in the face and say, "Not today, I'm still standing." The battlefield of success, it's crowded with people who almost made it, who almost tried, who almost fought through the pain, but almost doesn't get your name in the books, almost doesn't build empires, almost doesn't get remembered. Winners, though. Winners wake up when they're tired. Winners work when no one claps. Winners bury excuses and raise expectations. Winners don't wait to be picked. They pick themselves. So ask yourself today, are you trying to survive history? Or are you out here to make it? Because history, it don't talk about losers. But you were born to be remembered. History remembers those who endure, not those who quit. That's a truth that echoes across centuries, carved into stone monuments, sung in anthems, and etched into the minds of every generation. Endurance is the heartbeat of greatness. It's the thread that ties every name we've come to admire. From leaders and inventors to athletes and artists, the one trait they all share isn't luck, genius, or even opportunity, it's endurance. The willingness to stay in the fight long after the crowd has gone home. The ability to stand tall when knees shake, to keep pushing forward when the road disappears beneath your feet. You see, everyone starts strong. Everyone's got fire on day one. Passion, ambition, excitement. It's easy to be great when the sun is shining and the wind's at your back. But what about when it gets hard? What about when the doors close? When the people you trusted walk away? When the failures pile up and the winds feel too far away to reach? That's where endurance shows up. That's where the difference is made. Because most people fold right there. They tap out. They say, "It's not meant to be," and walk away. And just like that, their story ends not because they weren't good enough, but because they didn't keep going. History doesn't record the names of those who gave up in the middle. It doesn't talk about the ones who tried once or twice and then disappeared. It talks about the ones who refused to stay down. The ones who showed up again and again, broken but unbent. That's the measure of someone who leaves a mark on the world. That's what history respects. Look at any person who's left a legacy, and you'll find moments where quitting would have made more sense than continuing. Times when everything around them said, "Stop." Times when no one believed in them, not even themselves. But they pushed through. They endured. And because they did, the world remembers them. Endurance isn't glamorous. It's not the stuff that gets posted on highlight reels. It's lonely. It's dirty. It's the early mornings, the late nights, the quiet battles with self-doubt. It's failing publicly and still coming back for more. Endurance is the silent grind when applause turns into silence. It's the voice that says, "Try again," when all you want to do is disappear. And that voice, that decision to keep moving forward, is what separates those who make history from those who are forgotten by it. This world loves winners, but what it truly respects are survivors. People who've been through the fire and didn't run. People who had every reason to give up and chose not to. Because when you endure, you're telling the world, "I won't be erased. I won't be a footnote. I'm here to be remembered." And history listens to that. It listens to the relentless, the resilient, the ones who decide that pain is not the end, but the pathway. So understand this: if your dream is worth anything, it will demand endurance. It will ask more of you than you think you can give. It will break you and rebuild you. And if you stay in the game, if you keep breathing, keep swinging, keep believing, you will not be forgotten. Because history doesn't care how fast you run, how loud you speak, or how perfect you look. It only cares that you finish. Failure is part of winning. Quitting is not. That's a distinction many people miss. And it's the reason so many dreams die before they ever get a chance to live. Failure is a part of the process, a necessary chapter in every success story. It's not the enemy, it's the training ground. Every time you fail, you gain something: insight, experience, humility, strength. Every time you fall short, you learn how to stretch further. But quitting doesn't teach. It doesn't build. It only ends what could have been. Winners fail more than anyone. That's the secret nobody wants to say out loud. They fail again and again on the big stage, behind closed doors, in public and in private. But they never let those failures define them. They take the hit, learn the lesson, and keep moving. That's the difference. That's what makes them winners. It's not that they're better. It's that they refuse to stay down. They didn't quit. They didn't fold when the pressure mounted, when the odds stacked up, or when success didn't come quick enough. See, quitting is final. It's the moment you stop writing your story. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's pride. Maybe you told yourself the mountain was too high or the fight wasn't worth it. But whatever the reason, once you quit, the outcome is sealed. Nothing more can happen. No comeback, no breakthrough, no redemption. Quitting shuts the door and locks it from the inside. Failure, on the other hand, keeps you in motion. It keeps the fire lit. It keeps your hands dirty and your heart engaged. You can fail 1,000 times and still end up on top. You can fall every day for a year and still rise as long as you don't quit. Because failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the same road. Every mistake is a mile marker. Every setback is a signal that you're pushing yourself, that you're taking risks, that you're out there doing the hard work. And if you keep walking that road, eventually you get there. Some people avoid failure at all costs. They play it safe. They shrink their dreams to match their fear. They stay in the middle, where it's warm, where there's no risk of embarrassment or disappointment. But that's not living. That's not chasing greatness. That's quitting in disguise. Because if you're not willing to fail, you're not willing to grow. You're not willing to change. You're not willing to win. And winning is messy. It's painful. It's full of days where nothing goes right, where the weight is too heavy and the rewards feel too far away. But if you endure failure and refuse to quit, you get stronger. You get sharper. You get better. And eventually you cross the line that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Quitting disqualifies you from that, no matter how much talent you have, no matter how much potential. The moment you quit, it all stops counting. The moment you quit, the chance to become something greater disappears. You have to see failure as a companion, not a curse. It walks with you every step of the way, whispering lessons only pain can teach. And if you embrace it, if you keep moving through it, you earn something quitting can never offer: transformation. Real, lasting, undeniable transformation. You become someone the world can't ignore. You become someone history remembers. But only if you understand the truth that failure is part of winning and quitting never is. Legacy is built through pain, persistence, and purpose. It is not something you inherit or stumble into by accident. Legacy is carved, often slowly, often painfully, through the decisions you make when no one is watching and the sacrifices you endure when no one is applauding. Pain is the first brick in that foundation. It tests the depth of your desire, the seriousness of your commitment. It strips away the ego, the fluff, the surface-level ambition, and asks the one question that matters: how bad do you want this? Because if you want it only when it's easy, then you don't want it at all. If you want it only when people cheer for you, then you're chasing noise, not purpose. Pain is the fire that purifies. It burns off weakness. It shows you who you really are beneath the talk and the goals scribbled on paper. Anyone can chase a dream in comfort. Anyone can fake greatness when everything's going right. But legacy isn't forged in those moments. It's built in the dark, in the silence, when you're hurting, doubting, questioning. That's where the roots dig deep. That's where you find out whether this thing inside you is real or just a fantasy. Persistence is what carries you through that fire. The ability to keep showing up, not once, not twice, but endlessly. When the plan falls apart, when the money runs out, when the people you counted on disappear, persistence says, I'm still here. I still believe. I will not give up. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It doesn't post on social media or beg for validation. Persistence is quiet and stubborn. It gets up early. It stays late. It repeats the process again and again without asking when the reward will come. Because it's not about when, it's about if. And for the persistent, there is no if. There is only until. People confuse movement with progress. But legacy builders know the truth: consistent movement in the right direction, no matter how small, is everything. One brick, one step, one breath at a time. That's persistence. That's where greatness hides. Not in the big moments, but in the thousands of small ones that no one will ever see. The ones where you chose to try again. The ones where you could have quit, but didn't. And purpose, that's the compass. Without it, the pain breaks you and the persistence fades. But with it, everything changes. Purpose is the reason behind the struggle. It's the meaning that turns suffering into growth. It's what keeps you moving when everything in you screams to stop. Purpose gives the pain direction. It gives the persistence fuel. When you know why you're doing this, you can survive almost anything. When the purpose is deep enough, strong enough, honest enough, no failure can bury you. No setback can erase you. You become more than a person chasing success. You become a force, a storm, a legacy in motion. You don't build legacy with comfort. You don't build it with half effort. You build it with pain you didn't expect, with persistence you didn't know you had, and with a purpose bigger than yourself. That's what makes it last. That's what gives it weight. Not the applause or the trophies, but the story behind them. The story of what you overcame, of how many times you almost gave up and didn't, of the reason you kept going when no one else would have. That story is your legacy, and it's only written through pain, persistence, and purpose. Excuses bury dreams. Action resurrects them. Every time a person makes an excuse, they're digging a little deeper into the grave where the grave visions are laid to rest. Excuses are easy, seductive, and socially acceptable. They sound like logic, they feel like relief, but they are the quiet killers of progress. They give you just enough comfort to avoid responsibility and just enough justification to settle for less. People don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they've mastered the art of explaining away the very things they were born to chase. Excuses are habits. They become patterns. One excuse turns into another, and before long, your whole life is a chain of moments where you told yourself not today. You convince yourself it's not the right time, not the right mood, not the right conditions. You say you're too tired, too old, too young, too late. But the truth is, there's no such thing as the right time. There's only time and what you choose to do with it. Action doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't negotiate with fear. It doesn't need the stars to align. It just moves, one foot in front of the other. That's how dreams live. That's how they grow. People get stuck thinking they need motivation to act. But it's the other way around. Action breeds motivation. You start moving, you start feeling, you start doing, and suddenly the energy shows up. But if you sit still, making excuses, waiting for the perfect mood to strike, you'll be in the same spot 10 years from now, telling the same story about what you could have done. Excuses are liars. They sound protective, but they're destructive. They protect your comfort, not your potential. Dreams demand work. They demand risk. They demand that you show up on the days you don't feel like it. That's where action separates itself from wishful thinking. A dream without action is just a fantasy. But the moment you act, you begin the process of transformation. You take something that lives only in your imagination and start building it with your own hands. It doesn't matter how small the step is if you take it. You've already done more than most. And if you take another tomorrow, and the day after that, suddenly the dream isn't buried anymore. It's breathing. It's moving. It's becoming real. There will always be reasons to wait. There will always be fear, doubt, and uncertainty. But there is no breakthrough without movement. You have to be willing to act without guarantees. You have to be willing to do it scared. No map, no clear outcome. No applause, just a belief that something greater is on the other side of effort. That belief only matters if it's followed by action. Action is how you break cycles. Action is how you interrupt generational excuses. Action is how you silence the inner voice that says you're not ready. The ones who make it, the ones who build something that lasts, are not the ones with perfect plans or flawless discipline. They're the ones who learn to shut down the excuses and move anyway. Every excuse is a moment stolen from your future. Every action is a vote for the life you really want. The choice shows up every day, often quietly in the mirror, in your schedule, in your priorities. You can speak life into your dreams with what you do, or you can slowly bury them with what you avoid. The world doesn't reward excuses. It rewards execution. It rewards the ones who got up one more time, the ones who acted when no one believed in them, the ones who chose progress over pity. Because while excuses bury dreams, action brings them back to life. Don't wait to be chosen, choose yourself. Too many people spend their whole lives waiting for someone to see them, waiting for a sign, waiting for the call, the invitation, the approval. They put their worth in someone else's hands and hope to be noticed. But the truth is, no one is coming to crown you. No one is going to hand you your moment. The world isn't looking for people to lift up, it's waiting to see who's bold enough to rise on their own. Choosing yourself means you stop asking for permission. You stop playing small just to make others comfortable. You stop holding back because you're afraid of looking arrogant or overconfident. It's not about ego, it's about ownership. Owning your vision, owning your path, owning your right to be here, to speak, to lead, to create. The moment you decide you're enough as you are, the game changes. Because people can feel that energy. The world responds differently when you walk in as if you belong. Everyone has potential, but not everyone claims it. Not everyone taps into it, not because it's not there, but because they're waiting for someone else to give them the green light. But the people who break through are the ones who build their own door when none open. The ones who show up even when they weren't invited. The ones who write their own rules, make their own way, and bet on themselves long before anyone else did. That's what choosing yourself looks like. It's easy to believe the lie that you need validation to matter. From teachers, from bosses, from society. But the moment you decide to lead your own life, you stop playing by their expectations. You stop performing. You stop seeking approval from people who wouldn't understand your vision, even if you painted it for them in detail. Choosing yourself isn't about being loud, it's about being clear. Clear on who you are. Clear on what you want. Clear on what you're not willing to settle for anymore. There's a freedom that comes when you realize you don't have to wait. You don't need someone to choose you for greatness. You don't need someone to hand you a spotlight. You can build your own. Start where you are, with what you have. It won't be perfect, and it won't be easy, but it will be yours. It will be real. And over time, people will start paying attention, not because you asked them to, but because you didn't wait for them to. Choosing yourself is the first decision that unlocks everything else. It's the moment you stop chasing validation and start building value. It's when you stop hesitating and start creating. It's when you stop playing by the rules written for someone else's life and start writing your own. The most powerful people in the world didn't wait to be chosen. They stepped forward and said, "I'm ready now." Long before they were polished, long before they were praised, they believed they were enough, and that belief fueled everything else. People may doubt you, ignore you, even laugh at you, but if you choose yourself consistently, eventually the same people who dismissed you will ask how you did it. That's the shift. That's the power of self-selection. Because once you choose yourself, no one can unchoose you. No setback, no rejection, no silence can take away what you've already claimed. When you choose yourself, you start to lead. You start to influence. You start to create impact, not just for yourself, but for everyone watching who's still waiting.